Block 8, Pax Americana, Section 2, the beginning of the Cold War, with the section entitled The Berlin Crisis. As we saw earlier, the country of Berlin is divided into a free West and a communist East, as is the city of Berlin itself. The capital of Germany is also divided into a Soviet section in the East, and originally a French, a British, and an American section in the West. Eventually, the three Western powers would combine their sections to create West Berlin. The only way to get into West Berlin from West Germany was by tenuous road and rail links from the rest of Germany. I want to show you kind of what this means here. Sorry about that, folks. That if you wanted to get to free West Berlin from West Germany, you had to cross several hundred miles of East German territory. And Stalin, there was road links and rail links, and Stalin knew that. And in 1949, Stalin decides to test the Allies a little bit. This is the Cold War's first major show of strength. The Soviets are kind of testing out the Western powers to see what their resolve is. Stalin, with the atomic bomb now in his pocket, so the Western Allies don't have a monopoly on nuclear force anymore, what Stalin does is he cuts those road links and those rail links. And across the railways and across the roads, he sticks a whole bunch of German tanks, planes, artillery pieces, and troops, and pretty much says you are no longer allowed to ship things into West Berlin. It seems as if the Allies have two choices. Either they give up West Berlin, if they can't supply West Berlin, if West Berlin can't have any food, if West Berlin can't have any supplies, heating oil, food, then West Berlin will have to surrender to the East, that Berlin will be a united city under communist control. That seems to be one option. The other option is to blast their way through, to open up the railroads and open up the rail links and the road links by the use of force. That send a convoy, with tanks and planes themselves. And Stalin sets this up very nicely. He sets it up that if violence is going to come, the Allies, the Western Allies, Britain, France, and the Western Europeans, they are going to have to fire first. That if there's just a Soviet tank sitting across the rail link, to remove that tank, you have to shoot it. And Stalin knows that it's not going to look so good if the Western Allies are the ones to actually start the physical shooting first. So that is what it seems that the options are. That the Allies go to war for Berlin, or they give up Berlin to the Soviets. And Stalin gambles that the Western Allies will not go to war for Berlin, that they will in fact give Berlin up and it will become a Soviet-controlled city. But the Americans worked around Stalin. And what they did, because I can't move this power. What they did is they said, okay, we don't need railroads or roads to supply the city of Berlin, we can supply it by air. And such began the Berlin Airlift. This is 80% American, there's some French help, there's some British help, but basically what this is, the United States took cargo planes, converted bombers, and flew supplies into Berlin every single day for over a year. What's at stake here? On the surface, what's at stake is the future of West Berlin. That tiny little free enclave in communist East Germany is at stake. But in a larger sense, it's a test of wills between Truman and Stalin. It is a test of wills between the free West and the communist East. For 11 months, cargo planes flew into the still ruined city of Berlin carrying food, fuel, supplies. Thousands of tons are flown in daily. It becomes quite a science. That planes land, they are unloaded, they take off, they land back in West Germany, where they are resupplied, they take off, they land back in West Berlin, where they are supplied, are unloaded, and they fly. It becomes quite an efficient operation by the Americans and with some British help. The genius of this approach is that Truman has turned the tables on Stalin. Stalin believes that if war is to come, the United States is going to have to fire first to open up those road links and those rail links between West Germany and West Berlin. But Truman's flipped the tables. Now, if the first shot is going to be fired, that shot is going to have to be fired to shoot down airplanes. And that will be Stalin's first shot. Stalin is not willing to go to war for Berlin either. He wanted Berlin without having to fight a war. Now, if he's going to have to shoot first, he does not want to do that. So finally, Stalin relented, and the road links and the rail links were opened back up again, and the West could resupply West Berlin. So in its local sense, West Berlin stays a free city inside communist East Germany, but in a larger sense, this tells West Europeans and the world at large that the United States is going to honor its commitments. The United States said, we're going to keep West Berlin a free city. And now they took steps to do just that. The United States was not going to be all talk and no action. That the United States would honor its commitments to its allies and stand up to Soviet pressure.